Fall camp is here for every Ole Miss fan, so we talk, of course, to one of our camp insiders.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Steven Willis. We will bring in Jaylon Flowers to talk about the opening of fall camp tomorrow morning. He will be there for SEC Ole Miss Media Days. Basically, thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen, and please give us a like, subscribe, and comment on your way out. Completely free, helps out the show. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances using Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, let's bring in Jaylon Flowers. And you know what, Jaylon, is really awesome. We've gone through this really long off season, but tomorrow morning, fall camp actually starts. We can actually start talking about football, even if it's so-and-so's in a black jersey or so-and-so's not practicing. At least there's something new to talk about.
Yeah, man, this is the time that, fans, myself included, you get eager to finally be like, it's time. It's that time of the year to get excited, get the juices flowing in your arms and throughout your body. Super excited to be back and to be around football again. I think there's so much of, a piece of excitement, but a piece of curiosity throughout Ole Miss fans for this 2025 football team. So I'm super excited to just be around the squad and my fellow peers as well tomorrow and throughout the next couple of weeks to see what's gone throughout the offseason. I think fans are very intrigued, and I think players are really hungry to get back as well. I think there's been a variety of players that have put in some really hard work throughout this offseason and are really eager to finally get back on the field, finally put the pads and helmets back on to, be around their teammates, but also kind of getting that gridiron feel to know that football season is just right around the corner, which is a very, very exciting time for everyone. So it's a really good time. This is, one of those best times of the year for me where you're getting ready to fully lock back into everything that goes into what college football brings, especially here in Oxford, Mississippi. So I'm really, really excited right now. Like, I know I may not show the emotion that much, but I'm really super eager to get ready and get started for fall camp.
To get started, absolutely. It's really interesting with the beginning of fall camp. It always happens every single year. Go back to 2005 and 2006 and that period of time when I was the video coordinator there. And this time of year specifically, every single year jumped out to me because of doing things like setting the cameras out 2 hours early so they have a chance to prevent condensation from building up on them. Stuff like that stuff makes this whole thing exciting for reasons outside of football. I mean, the start of fall camp, it's just an amazing feeling for anybody associated with the team because it is a symbol of a renewal of the season that is coming up. The first college football game is in under 4 weeks. That is when the week 0 games are in just 24 or 23 days or something like that. If that happens and everything's going well, it's about to get really busy and really fun. Jaylon, man, I just can't wait to what's coming up.
Me either, man. Like you said, it gets busy, but the thing that I love about what I do is it doesn't feel like a job. Like I love and truly enjoy everything that I do within sports and covering athletes. It's been a blessing to do what I do. And for me, is this what is so exciting for this fall camp and for the upcoming weeks that we get ready to go into the first official game for Ole Miss. Is speaking of so many players behind closed doors is their biggest thing is just getting better every single day. And I truly want to be able to go to fall camp and see what aspects of their game that they truly set back this offseason and kind of focus or watch some film on themselves and say, this is where I need to get better if I want to become the best player that I could possibly be. And so I'm really excited to see what guys like, even our quarterback, Austin Simmons, what Caden Lee was able to do in the offseason, what our running backs were able to do in the offseason, what Jaylon Braxton and Andrew Jones and, Andrew Maddox, what they were able to do throughout the offseason to fully prepare for what Ole Miss football has in store for this 2025 season. It's not even just about, getting ready to get back into the game aspect. It's the authenticity of people understanding what Ole Miss football and what SEC football is about. Having that almost back in store is super exciting. Being able to see that the Grove is going to be fully packed, in a few weeks is so exciting for me. Just being around everyone, it brings a different dynamic and culture and love to Oxford that, you don't get any other time of the year. So I'm super, super excited and stoked for fall camp and, football season right around the corner, like you said.
Way back in the Stone Age, whenever I was there, this time of year, all the new players were coming in, all of the freshmen. And this year, there's actually 2 freshmen that all the eyes are going to be on. This is going to be the first time that people have been able to get a look at Shekai Mills-Knight.
Yeah.
Him coming in as a running back. First time that people's been able to get a look at Caleb Cunningham.
Yeah.
The first time to see if there truly was a growth spurt by Winston Watkins. We've all heard those rumors as well. That the roll call of the T-shirts and shorts and helmets practice, that's going to be important, but it's also going to be nice to see some of these players running around and moving around.
Yeah, absolutely. There were so many questions that came to my behalf on terms of, was Caleb Cunningham there earlier in the spring? He obviously wasn't, and now he should be here and enrolled and ready for fall camp. I'm excited to see not only how he's going to look, but how the offense is going to be able to, fit him in, where he's going to fit in this system his freshman year, what he's going to be able to do. Also, did he put on some muscle and add some pounds this offseason? I'm super excited to see what he's going to be able to bring. When you get those 5-star guys and kind of homegrown talents as well, that builds into that speculation and that hype around Ole Miss fans. There's so many questions and aspects that people want to go around Caleb Cunningham. And I think right now it's just kind of figuring out where he's going to be able to fit in place within this wide receiver room right now. And I'm super excited just to see that, but I'm super excited just to see him as a player, as a high school talent. He developed one of the best, being one of the best route runners in the country, having some of the best hands in the country. So bringing that into a Lane Kiffin offense, I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do with him over the next couple weeks. And like you said, Shekai Mills-Knight, another guy that is really, really amplified from the fandom of college football, from the recruiting rankings as well. I hear so many highly ranked things from fans, from recruiters, from 24/7 Sports, just how good this guy really can be. And it's going to be exciting to see how Lane Kiffin mixes him into this offense. He's been asked about it a lot throughout this offseason, whether it was at media days or just kind of personal conversations on podcasts about what the running back room kind of is going to look like and how much time he's kind of spent specifically looking over things like that to improve the running game from last year. I'm super excited to see what he's going to be able to do. I think, people may look at this running back room with a few different guys and may think he may not get too much of a push this year, but I would say don't be surprised if Shekai gets many opportunities to play some meaningful minutes for Ole Miss in 2025.
Yeah, when we come back, we will talk to Jaylon about the Pete Golding defense. Today in the second segment, we're going to make it a defensive day, so stick around for that. But real quick, I do want to let you know, do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing into your savings or planning on a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driving seat. It is like having your own personal CFO that gives you full visibility and control over your finances. It's so much more than a budgeting app. That is Monarch Money. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. The first thing that I noticed when I signed up with Monarch Money was how much I was spending on food delivery. They were able to help me clean that up, and now I'm living right, financial speaking. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for $50 off for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot in line for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That is where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. The prices actually drop the closer it gets to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. If you're worried about what happens if plans change, the Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dalen, the really interesting thing is everybody is going to be looking at the secondary. The two position groups that has everybody's attention going into fall camp are the offensive line and the secondary. The secondary is an interesting thing because I think Ole Miss has a pretty good setup in their front seven. Their front seven, I think, is going to be pretty good. But the rumor going around is that Jaylon Braxton is going to end up playing some safety. They're going to start out in fall camp because of the injury to TJ Banks. It's interesting them trying to put together seemingly a puzzle of the back end of that defense.
Yeah, it raises some concerns, I think, from a fan perspective about what it necessarily is going to look like in that Ole Miss secondary. And I think that was something that I think kind of puzzled Ole Miss fans from the right at the end of the last season for Ole Miss. I think with losing the talent that they did, and I think even as well, when you look back at moments for Ole Miss last year, that pass defense in 2024 kind of struggled at times. And I think that was something that, Ole Miss fans really wanted to work on in terms of getting better and getting a little bit more size and experience out there. I think that it's a question mark because, like you just mentioned, TJ Banks is now out with the injury currently. We don't fully have a timeline on how long he's going to be out, when he's going to come back. So I think you're going to see Jaylon Braxton be out there. You may see, Sage Ryan get that opportunity to be out there as well with him. There are a lot of question marks there. And I think Jaylon Braxton has that opportunity. He played a lot of versatile positions at Arkansas and in high school as well. I'm very familiar with his career, what he's been able to put up with. I think he has the ability to do something good. It just, from that perspective, you watched a guy like Jayden Kennedy last year for Ole Miss kind of be in one position and then kind of have to divert to another position due to injuries in the secondary. At times he kind of fit really well. Then there were times you kind of were scratching his head at his position on the field or his playmaking abilities in the secondary. So you're kind of going to be able to see over the next few weeks, at least from my perspective, what's going to be the starting role for that secondary and that safety position. And as well, how does, if Jaylon Braxton fills that role, how does he fit strongly out there? Is he able to move his hips strong to kind of help out on the receiving core when the cornerbacks get beat? Is Sage Ryan the guy out there, even though some may say he's a little undersized? I think there are many questions, but you're definitely going to be able to pick those poisons over the next couple of weeks in fall camp to see what Pete Golding and Wes Neighbors are really kind of trying to figure out and who starts in that secondary position for Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I think Ole Miss fans should take solace in the fact that they would move a Jaylon Braxton potentially from the cornerback to the safety position. That lets you know right there that they feel good about Ricky Fletcher. They feel good about Chris Graves or Cedric Beavers or Antonio Kite. I think that's good news. On the back end of that defense, they're a little bit worried because the realistic thing is Cortez Thomas, Keon Young, Ladarian Clardy, really young freshmen coming in, but Ole Miss is an injury or so away from getting really young on the back end of that defense really quick.
100%. And, a lot of those freshman guys, Ladarian Clardy and a few other guys, they have really, raw athletic talent. They can be really good players. And it comes down to field experience and understanding game time moments and understanding how, offenses really transition or adjust to what the defense is about to put out there before, the pre-snap, and understanding how can they adjust to that and to those things. And those are the kind of scary points when you have a freshman out there, or even a guy that, is redshirt, has been within the system maybe a year, but really didn't get much playing time the year before. So you kind of move forward towards the Jaylon Braxtons of the world, and that's where you're really grateful for the transfer portal. As much as some people may complain about the portal, that's when you're an Ole Miss fan, you really sit back and you say, I thank everything for the portal, because we were able to get guys like Jaylon Braxton who may fill that void within injuries. It was something that you and I talked about, I think maybe last week or the week before. Just this Ole Miss team can be really good when they're healthy. That was something that kind of struck a nerve for them last year. A lot of injury pieces, especially on the offensive line. When this team is healthy, they can compete with anyone. But now you're seeing, that opportunity kind of maybe come aboard to somebody else like Jaylon Braxton. But it's a huge miss for TJ Banks, and you'll see that in other positions as well. But I think Jaylon Braxton is ready for this moment, whether or not this safety position is somewhere he's kind of been in his whole career or not. I think that he's played really well in the SEC already during his time at Arkansas. I think he has great size. I think he has great hands. I think he has great open field tackling abilities as well. It all comes down to, is he coachable or not? And when I say that is, when you're put in those new positions, you kind of want to sometimes divert and do your own thing and play the ball in your own way. But you have to be able to trust your coaches and understand what they're telling you to do is what's best for you and you're in this defense. And I know Pete Golding or Wes Neighbors are going to sit back there and do that. But I really hope and I really do believe that Jaylon Braxton is going to be really good and really coachable if put in that position throughout the next couple of weeks. And then we may see him in that starting safety position come week 1.
What are you looking forward to? What is the first thing that is going to draw your eye whenever you get to practice tomorrow morning?
Oh, man, it's a great question. I think a lot of things, but I definitely think the offensive line is something that I'm going to be particularly looking at stronger when I first get in there. It was something that a lot of moving pieces during the spring ball time, and they were, playing a little light as well. And I think there were question marks just kind of over the whole totality of, is Jade Williams going to be a left tackle? Is Diego Pounds going to be out there? What are they going to do with one another? If Diego starts in the left, who's kind of going to be on that interior offensive line, maybe on the left side? I think there are a lot of question marks there, and I'm definitely intrigued to see what John Garrison has kind of sat back over the last couple months and kind of depicted to see what is best for this offense and what's best for Austin Simmons' playmaking ability. And I think another thing is the wide receiver room. I think there's so many questions. I think there's so much hype around it too, but I want to see who's going to stick out and be the guy behind Caden Lee. I think Deshaun Tribling has already shown the superstar abilities during his time at Oklahoma State, even at Washington State. So I want to see what he's going to be able to do. I'm super excited to see now with the injury that Luke has, where will Caleb Odom be more? Will he be in the receiving kind of ranks, or will he be out there with Daquan Wright and kind of be playing a little bit of both of the tight end and wide receiver? I was really stoked to see what Deuce Alexander did to the spring ball. I'm really excited to see how well he looks during the fall camps. He really caught my eye during the springtime, and he looks really quick. It's a great route runner. He played on kickoff and punt returns as well and was really, really doing well. So the wide receiver and offensive line are definitely going to be two of my biggest peaks when I get in there. I think there are a lot of questions, but I think there are a lot of things to be hopeful about for Ole Miss in those two positions. So I'm super, super excited to see what those staff members have done to kind of put together those two pieces for Ole Miss.
All right. So I'm going to take you off the screen. Stay on the line if you don't mind. I want to talk to you after the show's over real quick. But Dalen Flowers, what do you got going on at the Rebel Walk?
Man, just getting ready for fall camp tomorrow and for the rest of a couple of weeks, man. Starting back doing interviews and writing, and also doing interviews for my show, kicking back up and doing a bunch of different content for my show. So it's finally that time now where, the schedule's getting a little bit busy, but I'm always grateful for that. So I'm super excited just to get back in the real field, in the real world of sports, getting back in full gear.
Big thanks to Dalen Flowers for coming on the show just in time for fall camp. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss sports. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss Podcast. We are everywhere, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free, so your support means the world to us. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes around college football's landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody, and we're here. Fall camp begins tomorrow morning.